Welcome. We will start with going over the learning objectives, agenda, and presenter introduction. First, let's go over the learning objectives. At the conclusion of this course, you will have the ability to answer questions about podcasts and technology at Ameren with 80% or above accuracy. Successfully brainstorm, plan, organize, practice, record, and publish a 2-minute podcast to Ameren's Yammer page. Adhere to corporate guidelines when creating original podcasts, and teach other employees how to create and publish their own podcasts on Ameren's Yammer and promote the benefits. Let's take a look at our agenda for today. Number 1, we will take a podcast pre-knowledge assessment. Number 2, we will look at why podcasting at Ameren is of importance. Number 3, Yammer overview. Number 4, we will go over the steps to create a podcast. Number 5, we will listen to a sample podcast. Number 6, we will go over Ameren social media guidelines. Number 7, we will highlight podcasting milestones. And number 8, we will take a post-knowledge assessment on podcasting. Before we get down to business, I would like to introduce myself to you. My name is Stephanie Gifford. I am the course designer of this lesson. I've lived in St. Louis my whole life, and I feel like it's a pretty good place to be. I've worked at Ameren for 10 years in the Treasury Department, and some of my likes are bicycling, photography, definitely pizza, Cardinals baseball. I also enjoy anything near the water, and I do like camping, or maybe I should call it glamping. The little boy in the picture is my nephew Joshua, who is just the cutest ever. And down at the bottom there, that's my bird Petey. And he's been around with me for 18 years. And I can't grow plants for the life of me, but I can keep a bird around for 18 years. So I think that is an accomplishment in itself. Pre-knowledge assessment. Let's start with a pre-knowledge assessment. Relax, this is just a pre-test. It's okay to get the answers wrong, but note the correct answers and why, because you may see some of these again. Question number 1. How many people in the United States have listened to at least one podcast? A, 50 million, B, 124 million, or C, 30 million? If you guessed B, 124 million, you are correct. Number 2, what device do most podcast listeners use to tune in? A, a computer, B, a tablet, C, a smartphone, or D, another device? If you guessed C, smartphone, you are correct. Question number 3. What percentage of podcast listeners are males? A, 56%, B, 78%, or C, 42%? The correct answer is A, 56%. Question number 4. What is the most popular genre of podcasts? A, news, B, comedy, or C, education? The correct answer is B, comedy. Number 5. Which of the following are a result of using podcasting as a form of internal communications at the workplace? A, make your internal communications content more engaging. B, reach non-desk workers. C, bridge time zones. Or D, encourage knowledge sharing. The answer is E, all of the above. Number 6, what percentage of podcast listening is done from a vehicle while driving? A, 50%, B, 22%, or C, 10%? The correct answer is B, 22%. Question number 7. Who can create a podcast to post on Amren's Yammer page? A. Managers and above. B. VPs and above. Or C. All Ameren employees. If you guessed C, all Ameren employees, you are correct. Number 8. Does Ameren have a social media presence? A. Yes. B. No. Or C. Not sure. The answer is A. Yes. Ameren has a social media presence with Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Finally, question number 9. What resource can Ameren employees use to ensure they are following the guidelines needed when podcasting? A. Ameren Annual Report. B. Ameren Employee Handbook. C. PeopleSoft. D. Ameren Identity Guidelines for Online Communications. The answer is D. Ameren Identity Guidelines for Online Communications. Congratulations, you made it through the pre-knowledge assessment. That wasn't so bad, was it? Let's take a look at a few reasons why we should start internal communications with podcasting at Ameren. Reason number 1, accessible everywhere. What's the one item most people can't do without? Their phones. A podcast will allow you to connect with team members as they multitask. At the gym, on a walk, in the car. With the average daily commutes now at around 26 minutes each way, podcasts provide alternative listening content. Smart speakers like Alexa and Siri are now in 20 million Americans' homes, providing another channel for podcasts. Reason number 2, builds community. Engaging employees who work at remote locations or in non-desk roles is always a challenge. So is communicating across global time zones. Podcasts are a viable alternative. It's like being in a conversation as if the speaker is talking directly to you. There's an intimacy that can't be delivered in a company newsletter. Here is a picture of 4 Ameren linemen who were just a few of the hundreds of Ameren linemen who traveled all the way to Puerto Rico recently to help with the storm damage after the awful hurricanes. These linemen made a huge sacrifice to leave their families and their homes to help people who desperately needed their power turned back on after being out of service for nearly 6 months. Just think of what a quick podcast message to the linemen from an officer of the company could mean to these courageous workers. Reason number 3, shows your company leaders are human. Your CEO may be smart, but would you like to have a beer with him or her? Effective leaders know the value of storytelling and conversation. A series of podcasts with a senior leadership team will give employees insight into the personalities that lead the business and where the company is going. It can help align people around your business priorities. And reason number 4, deters from silos. One way companies are feeling the silo effect is from only having one main source of communication, which at Ameren is currently email. By posting thoughts and ideas on Yammer, it can be viewed and heard by whatever group you want to aim your message at, whether it's a department, a single employee, or the entire company of almost 10,000 employees. By sharing, we are engaging each other and learning from one another new ideas to solve old problems. Watch the below video about how silos can hurt employees and companies.
This is Silo Town. Every device on its own, with limited communication and interoperability. Out in Edgeville, folks want to share data and tools.
Hey, Frank, I got something for you.
Oh, don't take too long, Bob.
But Bob might be a while, because he has to go to Central Power and back. So does everyone. things could certainly be more efficient. But this is the way it's always been.
Evening, Frank.
Good night, Bob.
But there is good news for Edgeville. Silo Town is becoming the Internet of Things. An open FMB is here to help bring the Internet of Things to the grid and into the future. Instead of sitting in traffic, data folk can hop on a state-of-the-art message bus where they can communicate quickly and in style, talking to each other as they go. Neighboring devices are connected to each other, and new devices fit right in. Neighbors that lived next door for years are discovering each other, sharing, and making new things they never imagined before. Open FMB is helping everyone build a better grid and a better world together.
Yammer overview. Now, Yammer has been said to be the workplace version of Facebook. You may already be doing the basics like sending messages and liking items in Yammer, but take a look at the video below to get an idea of all of the capabilities Yammer has to keep everyone connected and to break down communication barriers at Ameren. Check out this video on what Yammer can help you do.
Yammer, fully integrated into Office 365, engages employees with a social network built for work. Discovery Feed keeps you up to date on what's happening across your network. Likes and praise encourage people to participate in the social network. Live notifications alert you to new conversations. Polls are a great way to gather information and take the pulse of your company. Groups allow you to exchange ideas and coordinate efforts in a centralized location. Co-author Office documents from Yammer and share it with others for feedback. Follow documents, users, or groups that are important to you to make sure you never miss an update. Yammer app keeps you in touch while you're on the go. Photo sharing and markup translates images into action by marking up the parts of the images you want to call out with your finger and sharing them with others. External groups extend discussions beyond your boundaries to customers, partners, and vendors. Yammer Inbox lets you easily triage announcements and personal messages.
And here's a great tool to keep close by when you are feeling overwhelmed with learning Yammer as a new application at work. I have this PDF document under the resources, so you can print it out and keep it close by. Steps to create a meaningful podcast. There are 6 steps to creating a meaningful podcast. Step 1 is brainstorm. If you're not sure where to begin when choosing a topic for a podcast at the workplace, take a look at this article that has some fantastic ideas to consider. Some of my favorites are Message from the CEO, Important Company Announcements, and Organizational Changes. Make a list of the ideas that interest you so you can begin to collect ideas for future podcasts too. Step 2 is plan. Once you have decided on a topic for your podcast, the next step is to plan out what you want to get across to the listener. Jot down a list of key ideas or phrases you want to discuss. Make sure these are brief since you want to limit your podcast at first to 2 or 3 minutes and use conversational wording. Step 3 is organize. Take the notes from step 2 and put them in order of when you will make each point. Think of your podcast as a story that needs to have an introduction, main points, and conclusion. This order is not final and most likely will change while you are creating your podcast. This quick video explains how to organize your presentation into 3 main pieces and can be used with any topic.
Hi everyone, my name is Jill Schiffelbein with Impromptu Guru, and these videos will help you prepare before the speech. One of the most common mistakes that I know that people make when they have to give a presentation is not taking the proper time to organize their content before going on stage or in front of an audience. So I'm going to give you a quick format of an outline that you can use to organize any presentation that you give. And it's a simple organizational pattern. It starts with the first part, the introduction. And the introduction contains 3 segments. You gain attention, you state a thesis or your purpose for the presentation, and then you preview your main points. That's done in the introduction. When you move to the body, which is the bulk of your presentation, have absolutely no more than 5 main points. Keep it to 3 if you can. That's a good magic number. Organize those main points and your sub-points that have support. Do that in a logical way that let your audience follow you easily. After that, you end with a conclusion. And in the conclusion, you first restate what you told them. So you have the preview, you tell them the information, and then you restate it. Then you restate your purpose statement, and finally end with a bang.
Step 4 is practice. Now that you have done the hard part, it is now time to practice. Practice out loud what you plan to say in your podcast over a 2 to 3 day period. First, practice by yourself and think about what you are saying from the listener's point of view. If you are bored while saying the words to yourself, chances are your listeners may tune you out before your 2-minute podcast is over. Make tweaks based on what you hear as you practice. Next, have a couple of people listen to your intended podcast. You can do this live, which will give you the most accurate and honest feedback, or recorded. Later, have a dialogue on positives and negatives of what the listener heard and adjust your podcast to reflect mutually agreed upon changes. Step 5 is record. Currently, there are 2 options approved by Yammer to record audio for your podcast. First, and the easiest option, is to record yourself from your work computer. This option does not offer any bells and whistles such as music intros or fading sound in or out, but for beginners, it gets the job done. Just click on Start, Programs, Accessories, Sound Recorder. The second option is using an app called Anchor on your smartphone. Download this free app to your phone and save this Anchor link from the resources of this lesson to your favorites for articles on how easy it is to record your podcasts. Finally, step 6 is publish. After you have recorded your podcast, all that is left to do is post it to Yammer's Yammer page. If you recorded your podcast from the sound recorder on your computer, open Yammer and click to create an update, poll, praise, or announcement. Enter a brief note about the podcast and choose what group it will be sent to. Click on the paperclip icon on the left of the message box. Then choose the last icon with the upward arrow. Locate where you saved the podcast and attach it to your message. If you recorded your podcast on Anchor, you can post your audio file directly to Yammer as long as you have downloaded the Yammer app to your smartphone by clicking on Profile, Episodes tab, box with up arrow, and selecting the Yammer icon. A box will appear where you can update what the message of your post will say. You will also be able to choose what group the post will be sent to. Either method you use, shown here in the yellow, this is what your basic podcast entry will look like in Yammer. Sample podcast. Next up, sit back and listen to a sample podcast demonstrating an example of internal communications with a manager giving a week in review. Note the positive comments about employees and how fast it is to get a lot of important information out to an entire department.
Hey there, Treasury team and TGIF. We made it through another week. Congratulations. There was a lot going on this week, and I'm here to recap it all for you. In Ameren business news, first and most importantly, on Tuesday, Ameren, Missouri closed on the issuance of $425 million of 4% first mortgage bonds due 2048. Ameren, Missouri received net proceeds of over $419 million after a discount to public of $1,840,000 and deduction of underwriters' fees of $3,718,000. Net proceeds were used to repay short-term debt, including short-term debt incurred with the repayment at maturity of $178.5 million of 6% senior secured notes due April 1st, 2018. Congratulations to the Corporate Finance Group, Brenda Weber, Mike O'Brien, and Megan Oliverio. This was a big win for Ameren, and let's just say the boss is happy. Next, Ameren Corporation was announced as the fifth-ranked company in total shareholder return of all electric utilities for 2015 through the end of 2017. This is a major achievement for Ameren, and we will be working towards keeping our fifth-place spot going forward. Keep it up. The last major news of the week was the return of our team of 90 linemen returning from working in Puerto Rico to restore the power to those who have been without electricity since the hurricane back in September 2017. Make sure to sign the Welcome Home banner in the first floor atrium. A collection for those still without power in Puerto Rico is still being taken by the HR department. Please contact Lynn Wright for more information. Let's move on to Treasury employee updates. First, the insurance team has hired an intern who will start on May 1st. Her name is Mackenzie Rogers, and she is coming to us as a graduating senior from Hazelwood East High School. Please make sure to introduce yourself to her and make her feel welcome to the team. As most of you are aware, Megan Smith recently got married and has been in Hawaii for her honeymoon. Megan will be returning to the office on April 26th, and we are planning a celebratory lunch for her on May 10th. Anyone who would like to help in planning this event, please see Debbie Lowry. Last but not least, Steve DeLeo is celebrating his 35-year anniversary at Ameren, and on May 4th, there will be a happy hour and celebration at Schlafly from 4 to 7 p.m. Congratulations, Steve. Here's to 35 more. Finally, some notes about next week. We will have 4 people out of the office next week on vacation or business travel, so we will need everyone to stay focused and work together to get the job done. I know we can do anything we set our minds to. Also, the Arts and Education campaign starts on April 25th, so be on the lookout for your pledge card and dates and times of when Arts and Education performers will be in the building. Arts and Education is a terrific organization for young people who have a love of the arts. More info to come. Well, that's it for this week. Hope you have a fantastic weekend and stay safe out there.
Ameren Social Media Guidelines. Because this is a new process for us all at Ameren, it is important to understand the social media guidelines, which governs the way coworkers use social media. Here are 3 simple rules to follow as you get started. 1. Know our values. 2. Be clear. And 3. Protect and safeguard. Here are some examples of when it would be appropriate for any Ameren coworker to respond or participate on social media. Here are some examples of when Ameren asks you not to participate and allow for official response from Ameren's communications and customer service representatives. When in doubt, contact a communications executive for guidance. These social media guidelines are available in the resources list. Please print and review as necessary. Podcasting milestones. Okay, now on to some fun stuff about podcasting and how it has come to be what it is today. Let's take a look at podcasting milestones. 2004, the beginning. Adam Curry and Dave Weiner are credited with the invention of podcasting. Who exactly did what is up for dispute, but in the end, these are the two guys who got it rolling. 2005, Apple iTunes 4.9 is released with native support for podcasts. George W. Bush is the first president to have his weekly address delivered as a podcast. Yahoo launches a podcast search site. People can listen and subscribe. Finally, podcast is declared the word of the year by the new Oxford American Dictionary. 2006 through 2008. CEO of Apple, Steve Jobs, demonstrates how to make a podcast using GarageBand in his keynote. Ricky Gervais sets Guinness World Record for most downloaded podcast at 261,670 per episode for the first month. Edison Research reports Americans who have heard of podcasting is 37%. Pew Research states that 19% of Internet users have downloaded a podcast. 2011 through 2015. Adam Carolla becomes the Guinness World Record holder for the most downloaded podcast after receiving 59,574,843 unique downloads from March 2009 to March 16, 2011. Apple announces 1 billion podcast subscribers. President Barack Obama is interviewed by Mark Marone on the WTF podcast. 2018. All Ameren employees are encouraged to create internal employee podcasts as a new method of communication at the workplace. Our technology and communications is growing at a rapid rate from what it was in the 80s. Check out this picture of the Ameren Communications Department from 1981. Post-knowledge assessment. We've gone over a lot of information today, so let's end with checking your comprehension of the podcasting information you just learned about. Question number 1. How many people in the United States have listened to at least one podcast? A. 124 million, B. 50 million, or C. 30 million? The answer is A. 124 million. Question number 2. What is the most popular genre of podcasts? A. News, B. Comedy, C. Education. The answer is B. Comedy. Question number 3. What device do most podcast listeners use to tune in? A. Computer, B. Tablet, C. Smartphone, D. Other. The answer is C. Smartphone. Number 4. What percentage of podcast listeners are males? A. 56%, B. 78%, or C. 42%? The answer is A. 56%. Question number 5. Who can create a podcast to post on Ameren's Yammer page? A. Managers and above, B. VPs and above, or C. All Ameren employees? The answer is C. All Ameren employees. Number 6. Which of the following are a result of using podcasting as a form of internal communication in the workplace? A. Make your internal communications content more engaging. B. Reach non-desk workers. C. Bridge time zones. D. Encourage knowledge sharing. Or E. All of the above. The answer is E. All of the above. Number 7. Does Ameren have a social media presence? A. Yes. B. No. C. Not sure. The answer is A. Yes. Ameren has a social media presence with Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn. Question number 8. What percentage of podcast listening is done from a vehicle while driving? A. 50%, B. 22%, C. 10%. The answer is B. 22%. Question number 9. What resource can Ameren employees use to ensure they are following the guidelines needed when podcasting? A. The Ameren Annual Report. B. Ameren Employee Handbook. C. PeopleSoft. D. Ameren Identity Guidelines for Online Communications. The correct answer is D. Ameren Identity Guidelines for Online Communications. Bonus question. What are the 6 steps to creating a meaningful podcast that were discussed in this lesson? Feel free to pause and come back as soon as you've finished your answer. The correct order for the bonus question is 1. Brainstorm. 2. Plan. 3. Organize. 4. Practice. 5. Record. 6. Publish. Congratulations! You've made it through today's course on podcasting. So what do we need to do next? First, make sure to download and print the items on the resources list of my homepage. Keep those items nearby because you will want to look at them before your next test and podcast assignment. Speaking of those, yes, you do have an assignment. First of all, one of the resource items is a copy of the test that we just took. You will need to take it once more and make sure to get 80% or higher. Email those to me by May 15th. Also, you will need to make and publish your own podcast for your department. Again, those are due May 15th. Last thing you need to do is share, share, share. There's no need to keep this information to yourself. That's the point of podcasting, is to get it all out in the open. So make sure to share this with your fellow Ameren employees. And if you need any more help, please feel free to contact me at my email address listed here. Well, until next time, keep it classy, podcasters.